Hi, this is your host, Noemi, and I just wanted to have a short intro for the two upcoming episodes on the show. I'll have the pleasure to bring on board two YouTube experts that run seven-figure agencies, Tom Breeze, CEO of Viewability, and Shaz Said, CEO of Links Digital. Since video ads are visual-based and there's a whole part psychology plays in what makes or breaks a video ad, I'm going to split my guests into two separate episodes. The first episode with Tom, which you're going to listen to within seconds, will help you and I understand the psychological part. And the next episode with Shash will focus on the technical part. As always, it's a pleasure having you here.
Welcome to the Wizards of Ecom, your no-fluff playbook for online success. Each episode is fully packed with actionable tactics you can implement in your business right now. Take your life to a higher level and excel in your online success. It's time to work on you and your business. Let's do this.
Hi everyone, welcome back to the show. My name is Noemi and I'll be your host. Today we have none other than the amazing Tom Breeze on the show. Hi and welcome.
Thank you so much for having me. Good to be here.
Very good to have you. Tom, you're CEO of Viewability, you're YouTube advertiser, author, trainer, and creator of the Ad School course. That's amazing. I'm loving it so far. And you also gave a brilliant presentation last year to our Wizards of Amazon group. That's the reason I want to have you on the show. It was a brilliant presentation, as I was describing, and also the way you structured it. And you talked from a psychologist perspective or psychology background perspective, which I loved. This is a topic that most people are not usually doing. They are just like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, but they're not thinking of what is inside, the unconscious. And that's why I have you on the show today to discuss about two topics. First off, if you have a brand that it's not known or zero brand recognition, how would you gain that trust with your audience? And second, how or why should someone spend money on you and your brand instead of your competition?
Good. Okay, cool. So let's tackle the first one.
All right.
So let's say, for example, you've built a brand, you've built a business, you have a product, but not that many people are aware of who you are, right? Okay, fine. So I'm going to talk about YouTube ads in particular, or how I would approach it from YouTube, but the psychology is similar to any platform. Mm-hmm. The way to think about this is that think about your targeting to begin with. Can you get in front of your target market, and kind of who are you getting in front of? Are they people that are in search mode and they're looking for content? And on YouTube, you get loads of people that go in there because they want to know something, they want to know more about something, want to do something. They have like a task at hand they're trying to complete. Or they are looking to buy something potentially as well. So they might be like, hey, I'm really interested in buying this product. I'm going to look up reviews of that particular product and see what other people on YouTube have to say about this product. Loads of that activity happening all the time. You also have like interest-based audiences. So people go to YouTube because they want to be inspired. And as an advertiser, you have loads of targeting options available to you based on people's interests, based on websites they may be visiting, what they type into Google, what they type into YouTube, the videos they're watching right at that moment in time, the topics of content they're watching, or maybe if they've been to your brand website before, you can get back in front of them. But I'm going to eliminate that as an option because we're saying no one knows who you are right now.
Yep.
So think about that to begin with, like think how you're going to get in front of your audience. And then it's about making sure you have the biggest impact with that impression. Now, a lot of my mentality goes to, I'm like 80-20, like 80% of me is a direct response advertiser, 20% of me is a brand advertiser, so to speak. So I feel like I'm always looking to spend money and make money come back to me as quickly as possible. And at the same time, I realize that you can't do that in isolation on YouTube. You have to think about the impact you're having with people, because over time, it'll make a difference. Like if I'm constantly selling on YouTube, people kind of get bored of my message. And if they get bored of my ads and I keep on doing it, they'll get bored of me. And if they get bored of me, then it's actually really difficult, So there's going to be a point at which you want to build a experience for people. And this is kind of a lot of the stuff that we tend to focus on is like, what is the user experience? What do you actually want to, what's the experience you want to create for your customer? Now, it doesn't have to be one exclusive experience and that's it. You can have loads of experiences. But I would say like, okay, cool. How would you like to treat your customer? How would you like them to receive your ads? Do you want to do like a really good content piece first? And then if they engage with that, then follow up with them afterwards? Or do you want to just like hit them hard with an ad and then do a lot more brand building on the website? Do you want to go very heavy on the brand to begin with and just like let them know about your mission and your story? And then off the back of that, if they resonate with that, let's put some call to actions in and give them a discount or something. But that's the thing I tend to focus on to begin with, is like, take a step back. Like, what is it we actually are trying to achieve here? What sort of relationship do we want to have here? And is this product going to be sold and over and done with in a month, in which case go real hard? Or is this like part of your brand that you're looking to develop over the next 20 years? And those sort of considerations make a big difference to how you approach the advertising. So whenever I work with a client, whether they have a brand or not, most people don't get their messaging perfect. And if you're a big brand, you have a big messaging company, or lots of marketers involved, and over time you develop that message, that's fine. And there's amazing people out there, but there's a bit of a chasm between the smaller businesses and the bigger businesses, and what are the smaller businesses not doing that bigger businesses do really well. And that is normally about like that understanding of that customer and what's deep within their mindset. And if you tap into that, you can really resonate with them. So the way that I would tend to approach that is to say, when I first get started, I'm thinking about the customer, and you may kind of have a particular avatar in mind. You know, like you said, I'm getting it in front of this type of person. It's a female, a city dweller with not much time on their hands, perhaps, a younger demographic, maybe something along those lines. You've kind of carved out a bit of a person that you can still target. And they might even be in search mode looking for advice on something in particular. Like, great, that would be perfect for YouTube. And now you're going to say, right, well, what's going through their minds and what do they really want? Now, you've got your offer. Hopefully that's been developed already. And you know the benefits of that offer. And it needs to be some sort of quantifiable end result you're kind of promising your customer. But as soon as you work through the benefits, that's going to be what's consciously aware to the consumer or to the user. They're like, yeah, I want this result. And you can speak to them like that. That's fine. Like, that's kind of copywriting level, you know? And then when it gets to the next stage up, you're thinking, well, what emotional desire do I really want to tap into here? So if you see like a 4x4 vehicle being advertised on TV, you're going to see that car driving up a beautiful mountainside or going to a secluded beach, and the driver gets out, gets their surfboard and goes surfing. And what they're doing is they're promising you a feeling of adventure in your life. Or they're saying, if you buy this car, our promise to you is you'll become an adventurous type of person. You will feel adventure in your life. And that's quite a promise that your unconscious mind resonates with most of the time. If you know your customers are into adventure, if you know that's something that stokes their emotions, then even though consciously it doesn't make necessarily too much sense, unconsciously you're driven towards that. Like, so almost like the right-hand brain thinking, which is looking for patterns all the time and looking for awareness of the whole picture, the Gestalt it's called. But like, if you look at like the whole picture, the whole awareness of what's in front of you, if you just see, okay, I'm gonna have an adventure in my life if I buy this car, that's how the right brain will be thinking about this. Or the right-hand side of your brain will be thinking. I'm massively simplifying the right-hand brain, but you get the idea. It's like, it's thinking like, I see this, I kind of want it. That's the pattern. If I buy that product, I get that. It's like, that's the promise we're advertising to people. And we want to do that with our ads. So we're going to say like, this is the emotion you want, but also it might be about an identity piece for people as well. Like, who is it you become as a result of purchasing that car or any product or any course or something like that? We've just done an amazing ad with a guitar tuition expert, and he teaches people how to play guitar online. And he says there's two types of guitar player. There are the people that are the dabblers and the people that actually play guitar. And which one do you want to be? And we're making that decision. We're asking them to make that decision for themselves. And it's not an aggressive conversation to have. It's like, you kind of know you're a dabbler up until this point, right? You know that. You can be a real guitar player if you want to be. And everyone's internally going to say to themselves, yeah, I want to be that identity that is the real guitar player. And as soon as they say that, they're then saying, that's the identity I want to have. And because they may not deep down feel like they have been that person up until this point, they're going to start to look for leadership at that point to be like, all right, you're telling me I can be a real guitar player and not be a dabbler anymore. It's like, okay, well, a few things. One, what is a real guitar player? What does that mean? What sort of category of person do I become? Like, do I fit into some sort of group or have a certain level of status in there? If that's the case, then what are the values? Like, what's important to us? I'm now this person, right? Like, what's important to us as a little community? Like, if I'm a real guitar player, what should I really be focusing on? What should I be standing for or standing against? What do I give up? Like, and his community in particular say, look, we're not interested in sheet music. That's boring and that's not fun. I'm going to teach you how to do a fun way of learning guitar. And that's one of their biggest values. And it's like, all right, okay. And so in the video, they show lots of people having fun and people as a community as well. And they're very big on their community. So if I was like, I want to be part of that group that's having fun playing the guitar, because I remember being 18 and being taught that guitar was sheet music and it was the most boring thing ever. And so now I can play rock songs. This is what I was born for. And so like, yeah, that's the fun bit, right?
I love sheets. By the way, I'm also like, professionally, I'm piano trained. So, and I love sheets.
Perfect. Same thing, right? Okay.
So
exactly.
see, they are not speaking for me, for example. I love
exactly.
that.
Well, funny enough, we have a pianist who teaches people how to play piano online as well. We don't have just music clients; we have other clients as well. But so for her video in particular, we did something amazing at the start of the ad. If I do say so myself, it was kind of her idea as well that came up with it. So one of the things as a pianist, the deepest feeling that we felt like for her students in particular, that they wanted to experience was the feeling of complete creative freedom, she called it. So you sit at the piano and you just get into that place where time seems to disappear. Like you might feel like you've been at the piano for 5 minutes, but you've really been there for an hour. And you've just been playing and you've gone to a new place in your mind and you're in a state of complete flow, not having to think about what you're doing, just listening to the music. And it's almost like you've become one with the piano. And I was like, okay, that sounds amazing. I don't even play piano and I want that. And so I was like, okay, have a dream tonight, or imagine you're dreaming right now. Like, what comes to mind? And she was like, oh, I can imagine me playing the piano on a beach with the waves lapping and me playing. And it's like a secluded beach. It's like so much space. And I was like, oh my word, that'd be amazing. And then I said to her, can we get your piano down to the beach? Is that possible? And she says, no, it's a Steinway piano and it'll cost a fortune and it'll break, the salt air would break it immediately. I was like, oh, okay, maybe not do that. But in the end, we were really lucky because she was taking the piano to, she was moving house. And we got the removal company to, on the way, take it to the bottom of this beautiful mountain on this golf course. And so we managed to get it on the golf course. It's got this beautiful stream and lake behind, and it's got this mountain, and the same kind of feeling is that you see this shot at the start of the video and she's walking up to the piano. And if you're interested in piano at all, you're drawn in. It's so different, the ad, but you see it and you think, I want to be that person doing that thing, feeling that emotion. And that's what we're doing at the start of any ad. We're trying to grab that emotional connection by just the scene and make people want it immediately, so we've got to identify that emotion that we've got to tap into people. And then we set that scene and we're like, that's going to grab them from the very beginning.
Love it.
But so when it comes around this kind of idea about their identity, who are they going to become, what sort of groups they become part of potentially, how should they, what's important to that group, and what should they believe? So they should believe they can give up sheet music. They can believe they can just enjoy and learn through enjoyment. And this community is having so much fun together. But alongside that as well, when you're kind of adopting this new identity and you're looking for that leadership and you're looking to say, hey, how should I think almost? You're also going to start thinking, well, how do I behave? This is like the same thing as like, if we're going on a night out with our friends, we're going to be like checking with them, like, hey, what are you wearing? Like we're going to ask them that sort of question because we're like, I want to fit in and I want to look like we're kind of the same. And my identity needs to shift a little bit to be the same as everybody else and that type of thing. Or what are you wearing? Because I want to wear the complete opposite because I want to stand out from everybody else potentially or whatever. Different characters and different reasons for asking the question. But that behavioral norm within that group, we need to check in and understand what that is. And when we do that, if we're told like, hey, people like us do things like this, that's kind of a really big statement from Seth Godin. Like people like us, guitar players, piano players, elite businessmen and women. It might be kind of whatever kind of group that you're asking people to become part of, or saying they can become that, have that identity and be part of your group. Then you're saying, here's how we act. And if you can align that behavior with their identity to say, if you do this action, you are basically confirming you are that person. You are that guitar player. If you do this, you're that guitar player. If you don't do this, you're kind of not that guitar player. You're the dabbler, aren't you? Because you can't even do this action that I'm asking you to do. But you're saying this behavior should be aligned with taking action in the video. So it says, click the link, go through to the video, do the action you're asking people to take. But that you're building tension then on not just like, hey, do you want this thing or not? This product or not? Do you want it to become a lead for our business or not? You're not saying, hey, this is great, this thing. You're saying, are you the sort of person that that can do this? Yes or no? Like, are you a guitar player or are you a dabbler? And you're making this decision they're making, and you're building tension around that decision there. And that makes it really difficult for people to say no to. It's like going to a gym and trying to cancel your membership. You may not have been there for 2 or 3 years, but still that decision to cancel the gym membership is saying, I don't want to be that healthy, fit person. or I'm not that person any longer. And it's really difficult to give up an identity like that, which is a positive identity. And so when it comes to your brand, and I promise I'll get back to your question in a second. But,
I have like 10 more questions, but go on.
Yeah. So, but yeah, when it comes to that brand, like that's what I think about to begin with, because then when you align with your messaging there, so you've got this psychology going there, then I'll be like, right, we know what the obvious pain points they might have are. Like they're searching on YouTube right now. If that's one of your ways of targeting people, they've got this pain point. And then you can say to them, look, I get it. I understand that you have this problem. And in fact, that's why we created this program, or we created this whole business and this whole brand, is because we were fed up. We were frustrated with these outdated old methods, or these products that just never stood up to the standards that we require as this type of person. You know, like we built this whole brand to serve you. Because we were fed up just like you. So you can kind of walk them through your backstory and what you stand for as a brand, what you stand against. And this comes back to those values things again. And you can talk about some of the credibility you may have had and some of the methodology you employ and testimonials you've got, anything like that really builds up that whole messaging. But you got to start with like the pre-production, which is like the psychology of your customer. Then look at like, right, how do we piece together this messaging with the assets you've already got? And before you know it, you've created like a little mini masterpiece where no one forgets you. You know, that's the most important thing, is that people just don't forget you as a brand. Like my wife bought this new, a lip, it's not a lip gloss. It's something similar to that. It's like a serum or something. And she told me the story that she heard from that brand. She was like, oh, it's by this amazing pharmacist who's based in somewhere in Europe it was. And she was like, oh, they developed this new product because, hey, isn't it true that your lips are the last thing to be thought about with beauty? But now I've got this the product that completes the set of all the beauty products I should have, so to speak. And it's like, that was the backstory of the brand. And you remember that, and it makes you want to buy, and it makes you want to be aligned. And it's like, yeah, if I buy those products, I'm standing up for my lips too, type thing. It's like, it's a weird psychological thing that we go through, but it really builds a connection. And we never forget a story. If someone tells us like why this wine that we serve at dinner is so great, we want to tell everybody that story of like, hey, well, this wine comes from a very special region, and that's why it really complements the food we're having this evening. Like, people love us to tell a story, you know? So give them that ammunition, give them that story of like, to back up their decision and why they want the products in the first place. And that'll really build your brand very, very powerfully. That will make sure that no one forgets you, and for the good reasons as well.
Love it, love it. You were just dropping like lots of golden nuggets, right? Like, okay, go on. It's amazing. Love
Sorry,
it.
I have a habit of not stopping talking, so feel free to just interrupt me at any time.
I have a very bad habit of stopping people, and interrupting, so we're good.
We'll complement each other. This is perfect.
Yeah, this is perfect. Tom, you were mentioning something super important, call to action. I think like something that it's worth like mentioning. What are the most important call to action that any ad should have?
Yeah, so I'll challenge you on the word action there. I think that I understand what you mean. You're asking people to take a certain or do something.
To do something, yeah.
But I would,
think
think of it like a call to being. as opposed to a call to action. So
Love it.
if you, coming back to the identity piece, we're saying you can be this person or this person, and this is your call to being at this point. Which one do you want to be? So I would reiterate what you're asking people to do and the benefits and maybe a quantifiable end result. If you do this, this is the result you can expect to achieve. And that may be backed up with your testimonials or something along those lines. Then I'd also say like, here's what you stand to gain and here's what you stand to lose. Should you do this or should you not do this? So make that very clear to people. Like the stakes are high. Let's not make them think the stakes aren't high. Like if they say no to becoming a guitar player, that's another nail in the coffin to say you may never pick up the guitar ever again. And how sad would that be? And that would be really bad. Like this is like your creative spirit's just dying as a result of saying no again. And you're making such a big decision at this point. So let's make this decision big. Let's raise the stakes of this decision so they know really what they're saying. And you can choose who you're going to be. So what they stand to gain, what they stand to lose, reiterate their call to action, and then be just really clear with what you want people to do and make that really easy for them as well. Like one of the amazing things I see so often is that someone's got a great offer. It's very, very attractive. It's a no-brainer. I get it really quickly. I want it. But then for some reason, they make it really complicated to even get that thing. And it's going to kill conversion. If it looks difficult, I'm not going to do it. You're right at that moment, right at the end of the ad where you're really like, little things you do can make such a big difference. I sometimes find like, I'll go online and I'll look to buy something, but if it can't store my credit card details on my phone, and I just can't press like buy with one button on my fingerprint, I'm like, I can't be bothered. And I'm so close. I want the product. It's just that I can't be bothered to get my credit card out and put all the numbers in and that type of thing. I prefer like, I've got Apple Pay. Why is that not working? Like I want it quick. I want it easy. Otherwise I might not go buy. So make it super easy for people, very attractive, very no-brainer decision. Also kind of like show them what steps are going to happen next in the actual ad itself. So say like, when you click this link, it'll take you through to this page and you put your name and email in here, press submit, and it'll take you through to this amazing content or whatever it is you're asking people to do. Make that really obvious and clear. At the end of the video on YouTube, especially, we add a countdown timer. So once you've finished your pitch and you've finished talking, then at the end of the video, just have like a countdown timer from like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, just like a subtle little number in the middle of the page. But what you're doing there is you're kind of telling people time is running out on the ad and their scarcity factor. It's a natural scarcity because time really is running out on the video. You're encouraging people to, I should get my act together and go click. If I'm going to click it now, I'm running out of time, quickly do this. And that tends to work very, very well. So adding that bit of scarcity at the end of the video will just heighten that call to action.
That's brilliant. I love it. And I never even thought about it, but yeah, totally. But that does the countdown leads to something, or is just like, that's how you're stopping the video in this scenario?
Yeah, so I'll count down from 5 to 0. I'll probably kind of make sure that they're aware of what they need to do. So I might have an arrow to the button, like subtly. And then I'd also maybe have an image of the product they're about to go and get, for example. And so just hold it there, pause, almost like someone's pressed pause apart from the countdown timer. Music can fade out. And then they'll kind of go and click the link. But yeah, I then might hold it on 0 seconds for another 3 seconds. So it kind of adds up to 8 seconds in total from the time you do 5 seconds countdown. But you just want to try and push people to say, this is really the last 3 seconds. All right, now you really got to take action. But that's from YouTube. It might be different from other platforms. But I kind of do a lot of YouTube advertising, and that's where I work mainly. But that's exactly how I would work on a call to action.
It sounds brilliant. I love it. You were talking about newbie mistakes. What are the most common newbie mistakes that you see when someone is creating a video and expecting that, wow, this should have worked and I've done all the steps, but it's not working?
Good question. I think that newbie mistakes is kind of difficult to identify all the time. It's like, I think a lot of people try and repurpose something from Facebook because it works on Facebook, therefore it should work on YouTube. I see that happen quite a bit. Or I see newbies try and get everything perfect in the ad. They've written their scripts and they've started with a script first. Never do that, by the way. Scripting and copywriting comes last in this whole process because you want to get all the assets together and feel like, okay, I can visually see this ad come together, and then I'll write the copy at the end. because most people write copy first, and that's such a terrible thing to do. Because I don't know about you, but I've never remembered an ad for what was said in the ad. I remember what I see and what I felt and what happened in the ad, and I can tell the story of the ad, but I can't tell you what the words were. And it's not the best use of communication either. Like, it's one of the best ads I've seen from Masterclass, in fact, is Gordon Ramsay. It's a cooking masterclass. And he looks directly at the camera and says, "Watch carefully." And he doesn't say anything for another 23 seconds. And that would be like a scriptwriter's nightmare. It's like, what? I can't. And it's just like chopping and music. And you just like, before 23 seconds is up, I'm like, yep, I'm going to become an amazing cook. I'm going to change everything I'm doing in my life. And it's like, nothing's been said. It's just visuals and music and him umming and ahhing about eating the food. And swearing a little bit as well in true Gordon Ramsay style.
Yeah.
But it makes you just think, oh my word, I want to do that now. But the copy would have ruined it. If someone was talking over it, it would have been terrible. So it's so important to think about the visuals and think about what you're actually creating. But don't think you have to spend a lot of money. Like, some of our best ads are done by being a bit like bootstrapping it a little bit. Like, so we're trying to get the piano to this beautiful location, but we just happened to realize they were moving location. We're like, oh, brilliant. Maybe on the way they could stick it in the bottom of this mountain and quickly do a shoot. And they did it. And I was like, oh, perfect. So yeah, it can be a little rushed sometimes or whatever, but some of the best ads are also just like, we've got a client that spends over 4 million a month sometimes. And his ads are done with iPhones. So it can be done like super cheap as well. So overthinking it, taking too long, thinking you have to give some sort of brilliant presentation, just have good energy and get excited and just want the best for your viewer. And it always comes through better that way.
That's you're bringing up some super brilliant point. I know also on our side or on my side or video side that we're doing for Amazon as well. It's like, I'm with my phone and with my cat, and it's like, it's you, it's like, it's not someone else, it's you, So
Yeah.
This brings me actually to a question. Have you seen what's the difference between raw footage like newbie footage or with your phone versus professional? When would you use which one?
Yeah, I like both. I love creating a really slick ad where everything comes together and I feel really proud. Like I can
Movie like
a movie level stuff. Like it's those. If I had to kind of bet which would work better, like a really high production versus a low production, I would say that the high production is probably going to win. And it's, if you had endless amounts of money, I will stick it at high production. But high production also comes with a lot of procrastination and also a lot of time and people, and speed is of the essence sometimes, and it can be clunky when you've got lots and lots of people trying to do something, and you're dependent on things like the weather and stuff. It gets expensive and complicated, and I don't like doing that sort of work all the time. It's like, if I come up with a brilliant idea with a client, they're really happy with it, and we go ahead and it's like, all right, well, let's go do this properly. But we probably could get nearly as good results on cheap production. You're just going to be a bit savvy with it and a bit clever about it. But it's just like, if you get really good at your iPhone, then you can create amazing stuff. Like, you don't have to be. There's loads of courses out there as well about how to learn how to play, learn how to use your iPhone for filming, and they're amazing stuff. Like, people create some really, really cool stuff. So anything's possible, like it's, I don't know, I'll be quite inclined to get a fresh person out of university who's keen and motivated, who's learned the basics and has a concept of what's good videography, and then say, okay, cool, here's the psychology behind it. Here's the kind of like, here's what we're looking to try and put together. And now it's just going to have fun. And if you do that, like, I can't express enough that having fun with this whole process is so important, because it really does come through in the videos that you create, and it also really makes you want to create more, and have fun with it. So that's a real key aspect of this. Is like, sometimes people are very, very analytical, and that's another thing that frustrates me with the video. Is like, I get it that you have to follow all the data and know how they clicked and when they went to the website and how many people signed up and the cost per acquisition and the CACs and all that sort of stuff. I get all of that. And it's very important to track all of that. But don't forget that it comes back to the original question you had about your brand. Just because 2% of people click through to your website doesn't mean that 98% of people have forgotten you or aren't still in your world all of a sudden. It's like, I think of it very differently to most data driven people, because I'm like, I want to have such an impact with people that they remember me for another 20 years, not for your 7-day window attribution that you've got. And I want to make all my judgment calls based on just my clickers. I want to make my judgment call on the impact I'm having on people. And it's not to say that that's the most cost effective way of doing things. It might cost a little more to think of it like that, but I'm playing a longer game, and I don't care if it costs me a little more to really have a good impact with people, because I know that I'll be here for 10 years, and then in 10 years time, when I run an ad, everyone's going to want to be part of it because they trust me for the last 10 years. I'm happy to play a longer game in order to build that brand and establish myself in that way, so people trust my messaging for years to come. So that's important, I think.
I love how you said that, being remembered. I think for me it was the light bulb moment right now. Most of the time people are not realizing that that's it. That's the formula, being remembered. And people will remember you for the good things and the bad things as well. So I really love that. Okay. And would that also would that also like be an answer to my question, what to do, how to, like, if a competing product is right there and it's very similar to yours and it's using the same techniques, would it be then the strategy to still you are the one that has to be remembered versus the other product? Or what would be?
Sorry, so repeat the question. Go for it again. I just want to make sure I'm clear on the answer here.
Yeah, sure. So we were talking about being remembered, and I was saying that I also had the question of what to do if there's a competitor product who's similar to yours. Let's say there are 2 shoes, one is green, one is blue, whatever, and you're going to go whatever with whichever choice. But it's the green one, if it makes you something remarkable, or you're going to remember it, is the one that you're going to pick, even if they're both shoes are perfect?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So if you're thinking about like, oh, I own the green shoe and my competitor owns a blue shoe, and we're competing against each other, then I'll say that's true from a very objective standpoint. That's a kind of a data-driven thing. Do they buy the blue one or the green one? Well, what color do they prefer? It's like, oh no, I can create a whole story about green that makes it different, but that's the world of fashion, right? Like a Balenciaga, I think it's Balenciaga. I'm not up with my fashion too much, but don't they have the red soles? Or they've got a red paint at the bottom of the
Yes. It's not Balenciaga. It's something with L. Okay, my mind.
Well, anyone like Jimmy Choo or anything, or like the top shoes and things.
Louboutin, I think.
For a second.
I think it's Louboutin or something like that.
Louis Vuitton, yeah. Maybe it might be, yeah.
I'm a girl. I should be ashamed.
Well, no, I don't know anything about my shoe fashion, but anyway, there is a type of shoe, and that's got a story behind why it's red underneath, and immediately when it's a story, it's like, oh, now it carries value, and if I buy those shoes, I'm really buying into a type of mentality here. And it means something, green means something. But I'd hope that it's got more than just the color, but like you can create a whole story, and then all of a sudden that shoe is exactly the same shoe is worth so much more, And so I don't look at any brand as a competitor sometimes when I'm in a space. Yes, we might compete on the same type of customer and we have a similar product, but my brand story is going to be better than yours, or not necessarily better, just different than yours. And so like for some people that's going to really resonate. And I don't mind being weird in some places. I don't mind being like, but I'm going to talk to the people that really resonate with me to the point where they don't ever forget me, because they're like, I'm buying into that story. I'm buying into that product. And this is the truth of the matter, is that if I look at my front door, I bet you we've had something from Amazon today. And I bet you my wife and I don't have a clue where it came from. We must have bought it at some point and it arrives. We may never even use it, but at the time of purchase, we wanted it, right?
Yeah.
I think we've all had that experience before, and well, hopefully, otherwise it just sounds like I'm just a wasteful.
You're the wasteful. It's fine. I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there is that kind of like, you buy something because you want it at the time and you feel great about that purchase, but you may also know that you may never use it. I've got a whole heap of books up here, and I bought them at the time of purchase. I loved the fact that I bought it. I felt good about it. I felt like, another book that I really, really want. I may never get around to reading it because it may not be the number one priority for me to read that particular book, because I've got so many others I want to read, but I still feel great that I purchased it. And that's something weird to me in my brain, because I'm thinking I'm buying it because I want to own it, not because of what it's meant to be, which is its content. It's the same with fashion. You're buying it because you want to feel great about a product. And it's because you're buying into the story of that product. You're not buying the leather of the sole of the shoe. You're not buying the curvature of the shoe or the fabric of the shoe. You're buying what it means to you. And different things mean different things to different people, So think of the point of purchase and the point of sign up as a piece of the sale. Like I'm buying this. I'm buying this product not because I want the product, but because what the products will make me feel right there and then at the purchase, not at the point of delivery. And that's a weird concept to get your head around. And sometimes it feels like, well, that doesn't even make sense because I'm selling the value of the product. It's like, do you know how many online products don't ever get opened? Like how many online courses in the education world? It's like a 6% completion rate of products. At the time of purchase, they really wanted it. At the point of doing and the delivery, they're not so interested because the point of purchase is like, I feel good that I'm in this group now. I feel good that I have this identity now. Like they buy that identity at the point of purchase. They don't actually go and do anything with that product.
It could also be scarcity, like because you were mentioning, and so I'm not like ruthless, but I like to be ironic and sarcastic sometimes, and you just got a bump of that. No, like for example, for me, what's happening most of the time, I noticed whenever something is on sale, and like I consciously know that, hey, I might not use that product, I will buy it, And it was like, that's all also there, like buying something that you realize you didn't bought it because you loved it. You bought it because it was on sale.
Yeah, exactly. So what is it you're getting out of that? And that's the interesting thing. It's like, I'm getting a bargain, or I'm getting I feel good because I'm savvy, like, or whatever it is. And that could be a really interesting thing. There's going to be a part of you that wants it deep down. Otherwise you'd have no interest in it whatsoever. But what you've done there is you've said, right-hand brain thinking or the unconscious brain thinking is like, I love this type of thing. It gives me good feeling. If I buy these sorts of products, I feel like a dopamine rush and I feel good about this purchase that I'm making. Right brain. Left brain is now thinking, hey, bargains are good. This is like, we're tying two things together now. I want it and it's at the bargain. So I get everything fulfilled here. Like, let's go buy it. And then you even feel great about it. You may never even wear those clothes, but you may, and the funny thing is you may even value them less once you've bought them. So you may not wear them because you're like, oh, that was just a cheapy thing I bought years ago. And you really didn't, you bought it last week, but you don't value it as much as if it was twice as expensive, And that's the thing is that like, I know that kind of expensive handbags are something that I bought a lot. And they're no different. They do the same job as like I wouldn't say it's a plastic bag, very different thing altogether. But like you'll carry, like the function of that bag is to carry things. That's what some people look at it like, right? I know, for example, my grandmother or my grandfather would have said, "Oh, you just buy a bag that carries stuff." That's like they're fully functional. That's all it is. And like, no, they're buying it because it's a fashion item. And it might show a level of success. It might show a level of, I'm in that group, I'm in that fashionable level. But whatever you buy is a big statement about who you are. Yep. And it's not the product, it's what the product means to other people. And so when people are just purely selling on the value of the product, the green shoe versus the blue shoe, I think we said, or something like that. I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, we're going to win this game because we might have the same products, but I can think of a message behind here that's much more powerful. It's not going to happen overnight. But over time, people will be like, hey, you got a blue shoe? Oh, how embarrassing. I've got a green one. It's like, you can shape that sort of mindset. And it's a little dangerous maybe, but it's kind of building that brand and it's building that messaging and letting people know what it's all about. And that's important, like what do you stand for? What do you stand against? Building that real big brand messaging there and why you exist in the first place is a really important thing to pull out of this whole conversation.
Yeah, definitely. I heard that everyone from like our audience heard the part that there are also men who would prefer like expensive handbags. So please don't stereotype it as it's a woman thing. It's not.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, like, yeah, it's funny. Like I I will use analogies every now and again. And I feel like I'm in the advertising world and I'm making judgment calls every single day about age and gender. And like, these people will react this way, these people will react this way. I'm like, oh, I'm just looking at the data and I can make those judgment calls like that. But yeah, I'm fully appreciative. Like, let's be very inclusive. Everyone can behave in lots of different ways. Yeah, for sure.
Correct, definitely. We were mentioning about ad types, and I loved how you described like you need to have a purpose and to sell a feeling. Now, I would also ask, is there any example that you can give from big brands that we might know that they totally got it wrong in selling the experience, selling something inspirational versus like selling just a product?
Oh, getting it wrong is, there's loads of cases of that, but I think that they're deep down the intent, it's very rare to find a big brand that gets it wrong from an intention standpoint. They might just get wrong on the execution standpoint. That's normally down to too many cooks in the kitchen, really, or too many cooks on the video production or the advertising campaign. You got like the Pepsi one a while back where it was all about like social justice. And I think it was like with one of the Kardashians, and that just bombed because everyone just saw straight through it and saw exactly what was going on. So the intention was right, maybe, or at least there was something in there that had intention that was positive or had a good message, but it was just badly executed. That's normally what happens. And there's I know there's like sometimes there was like Motorreal Mums, I think it was, that was doing like I can't remember exactly what it was now. I didn't see it because it was in the US, but there was a lot of cases where there's like advertising campaigns where people assume a certain line to go with, so to speak, like, women can use this product because it's going to help you through the day with your kids. Done. And you can imagine like 6 or 7 men sitting around a table being like, woohoo, we did it, guys, let's go for early beers or something like that. And you're like, yeah, you really missed the mark, and you just sent it through, and it just really missed the mark with the audience. So there's going to be there's so many, like, I can't think of one off the top of my head. It was like a complete disaster, apart from maybe the Pepsi one that was a disaster a while back. Like, there's campaigns like the Evian babies. I don't know if you remember the Evian babies. Like, that was deemed to be very unsuccessful because at the time that went viral, it was also Evian's worst year of selling water ever. And so you can kind of look at that and be like, well, it's terrible for sales. But the fact that we're still talking about Evian babies, and you knew what it is and I know what it is, that's still a concept that could still work for them. And it just takes time to sometimes build that messaging out from that. But I'm normally more aware of the ones that work really well, you know, like one in particular, because it was a friend of mine that did it, Ron Lynch. He did GoPro. I'm not sure how much he's directly involved with all the messaging behind it, but GoPro had like huge amounts of success, especially in the early days, because it was almost like they turn the camera around, obviously, and you're filming yourself now doing these amazing adventurous things. And the great thing about that, their slogan they got right was that they say, be the hero. And it was such an opportunity for people to be like, I turn the camera around to myself, I'm now the hero, and I've got an excuse to put that on social media and tell people about how cool I am and how adventurous I am, and how, hey, this is the different side of me that you may not even know. Or let me confirm to you that I am this person again and again and again. Look how cool I am. Give me lots of likes and stuff. And so GoPro is giving you that experience of giving you an example, like giving you an opportunity to tell people about your identity. And be the hero was such a great tagline as well. But the fact of turning it around and filming yourself and being the hero and just went viral, right? Because they managed to do it in such a way where when you upload it, the logo was still in the video. And so everyone was like, oh, how'd you do that? Oh, it's with a GoPro. And then they become language. That was really, really clever. And I feel like they could probably push a lot harder on that messaging. But like, you got like Red Bull doing the same thing. Anything extreme sports, Red Bull's got his banners all over it. And then they've got like a Formula One racing car thing and all that sort of stuff. So there's a lot of companies that go all in on the messaging, and you just really resonate with that sometimes as well. And if you ever taste Red Bull, it tastes horrible, but you think it's going to give you loads and loads of energy, which it probably does, because it's like jacked full of sugar and jacked full of all these chemicals and things. But the fact is, you're happy to drink a horrible drink because unconsciously it's like, well, this is what I'm meant to do, isn't it? This is like this is like a good brand. This is like, and so anyone that's saying that branding and advertising doesn't work, it's like, well, if you drink Red Bull for like any time and you like that taste, or if you like Red Bull, that's a very, very small part of the market. But the fact that people all over the world are drinking it because of what's being advertised to them, basically.
Yeah, definitely. I do. By the way, I worked for Red Bull for 6 years, 7 years.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, perfect.
Produce music.
So you know this better than I will. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Tom, to be super respectful of your time, there are 3 questions that I'd love to ask my guests before wrapping up. First one of them being, what is your latest $50 or less investment in learning about video advertising?
Oh, great question. $50 or less. I recently bought, what did I buy? I'm trying to look around. Like I have like a light here and a camera here and a thing here. Let me have a think. What do I? Okay, I bought a whiteboard because I'm about to do a video with a whiteboard. There we go. That's probably, I think it came in for less than $50. Yeah, I'm about to do some videos where I've got a group that I teach called Ad Buyers Club, and so yeah, so we've got to try and put some content. Well, not try and put some content. We put lots of content together and share with people exactly how to run YouTube ads most efficiently. And so yeah, that was my purchase because I had to get it. So it was a special, well, not special type, but I had to get like a whiteboard. If you've ever filmed with whiteboards before, they're very reflective. So you have to kind of then think about lighting and where the lighting is, or you can get like less reflective ones. So that's what I bought. Yeah, there we go.
Look at you. Super. I love it. This question usually like puts off everyone like, oh, what did I, oh. So I love the reaction.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
3 books, favorite ones that you like, top 3.
Top 3 books. Okay. So based on the concepts that we talked about today, let's go with like keeping that theme. So there's so many books I like. Okay. I'll give you one that's a very popular one called Made to Stick by Dan and Chip Heath. Brilliant book. Very easy to read. Great loads of analogies. And it's all about getting your messaging to stick and your brand to stick in the minds of your customers. Great book. Recommend it to anybody. Another one is The Hidden Persuaders. This one's a little less known. But I think it's a great one. I'm not sure if you can see that, but it's Hidden Persuaders. Come on, camera. There we go. Yeah. Hidden Persuaders is quite an old one by Vance Packard. Awesome. It's a great book. It kind of talks deep about the psychology of your customers, a bit like what we've been talking about today again. Another one one that I'm reading at the moment, which I'm finding absolutely fascinating, is The Master and His Emissary, and its Emissary. And let me just check I got that correct because I'm listening to it at the moment. It's a huge book. The Master and His Emissary by Ian McGilchrist. So I'll have to hold up my iPhone for you for that one. There we go. The Master and His Emissary. Awesome. That's about like the divided brain and the left brain and the right brain thinking, and how they connect together and how they think differently, and how we have 2 perspectives on the world at any one time. And that really does play into video as well, because when you show them a message, we're thinking about that message in 2 different ways. 1, the overall idea of what's happening in the video, and 2, the more the detailed thinking of it as like what's being said, like what's happening, and what's kind of like what's important about this ad, and trying to listen. But at the same time, the right-hand brain thinking is just taking in the whole concept, the whole idea of that whole video. So I'm trying to learn more about that. But most books you download is like 7 hours. I think this one's like 43 hours worth of reading or something like that. So it's like, okay, this is not easy going, but it's very, very good to read. That's brilliant. You know that I'm going to download and everything. I'm super interested also in psychology. So definitely, thank you so much. What's the best way for people to get a hold of you and your services? Yeah, so the best way right now is, well, I'm on Facebook, so you can kind of hit me up on Facebook and say hello to Tom Breeze. I'm sure you'll find me. I'm normally in a tie, looking very dapper. But the website to go to, probably the best one, is adbuyersclub.com, because that's where we train a lot of people on how to run YouTube ads most efficiently. And we have a quite clever way of doing it. So what we do with people is we don't believe that online courses in the ad buying space is a good idea. Like it's too bespoke. You have to kind of like actually give proper advice to people to get best results. So what we do with people is we put them in a pod with our team, and we'll say to them, right, we have a private space where we just show you and teach you exactly what you need to do. We also make it very bespoke for them. So it's whoever it is that comes in, we'll kind of like have a look at their stuff and give them advice on their stuff. And so it's not like a one size fits all approach to YouTube advertising. And the other thing is that we got like so much data from so many accounts that we work with, lots and lots of clients. It's like we have such insight behind like what works, what doesn't work across so many clients. And so we can kind of be that conduit between businesses. You know, we can say like, this is a company that's some kind of similar to what you do in a different niche, or like, but we can kind of say, e-commerce for lower price point or higher price point, or lead gen, or whatever it is. We can have a look at how businesses want to run YouTube ads, and we can kind of give them very good evidence of what works, all anonymized, but it's more like we know what works at scale across loads of companies. And so we can kind of share that with you, all anonymized, as I say, but that really helps people learn, understand what it takes to run YouTube ads most efficiently. And yes, that's Ad Buyers Club. I've probably done a long spiel about Ad Buyers Club there, but I feel very passionate about it. It's a very good place to be if you're a YouTube advertiser.
Is this only for YouTube advertiser, or like general, like understanding how to proceed with video ads?
We will in the future get used to kind of going into new platforms and understanding about like, but right now our skill set is YouTube advertising. So we would just like stick in our lane for the time being. In the future, we're looking to build it out. But yeah, we're very performance driven. So when we work with clients, there's no upfront fee to join, or there's no kind of a monthly fee. What we do instead is we just do a kind of a performance partnership. So we get paid based on success. So when the client's winning, we get to win as well. But it means that we've always been performance based. We want to make sure we celebrate at the same time as the client, so to speak, as opposed to if we celebrate when the money comes in for the fact that they bought the program, and then the client feels like they've been left behind or something. That's just definitely not what we're into. We're more a case of we want to be high-fiving each other at exactly the same time for the same reason. So that's our focus.
I love that. Also, if your brand is let down, or the brand is let down, also you would be let down. So I love that you were saying, okay, let's go, let's win-win spirit. So I love that. Yeah,
precisely right. It feels great, and everyone in the club feels exactly the same way. So it's a really good community of amazing advertising and businesses doing great stuff in the world. So it fills me with pride to be part of it and it's kind of like, yes, whilst I've created it, it feels very much like it's got a life of its own, and it's growing and it's scaling because of the very nature of the people and the club that we've built. So I feel very blessed to be part of that.
Definitely. Tom, was amazing having you on the show, and thank you so much for sharing all your knowledge. And for all our listeners, thank you once again for listening to us, and see you next Wednesday. Bye-bye.
Thanks so much. Bye.
It was fun sharing this episode with you. If you found value in what you've heard, please show your love with a subscribe, rate, and review of the show. Until next time.